keep track of how many versions and which version was which. And then it's on you as a PM, as it is today, to continue to manage those versions as they go to the client. Know when you're on version 8 and they ask for version 2, what they're referencing. All right, so it shouldn't be a lot of change. Just as a reminder, it's kind of on you to continue to own that, and we're going to control it all in one job. Notifications. So when the color team is ready for you to come back and look at the color work, you'll get an email notification. It'll say color work right in the email. So maybe you're filtering some of these notifications. I would recommend you keep your eye out for these new ones that start coming. That way you know when to go look at the color work. So we're removing a lot of the manual emails. And you'll pick up on that as we continue. So when you want to approve your color work, you'll go into the hub, where you typically approve a soft proof over here, and you'll click on approve. But you want to make sure when you approve, because there's a note field that pops up, you want to make sure you type in which version was approved, which revision. That's going to be important. They need to know which one was good to go. You don't want them assuming, right? And when it's declined, same functionality. You click the decline button, you're able to type in your notes. I believe they're called comments in the hub. You'll be able to type in your comments on why it's declined. And then if you need to make a visit back there to talk to the color team, obviously we want you to continue doing that. So at this point, you've entered your original production ticket. You got your hard proof back, you didn't like the color, you went and you ordered your color work ticket through the hub, that's been submitted, it's been completed, you like it, you've approved it, and they've now kicked back the color note to you. Now you're going to go back to your original job, and you're going to update the information with the production note. So it's important to know that that job now needs new information on it, such as that color note. And I'll explain that a bit more in a second. But it's really important to note, this is super important, that while all of this is happening, you haven't actually gone into the hard proof approval queue and clicked the decline button. Because it is a decline proof that needs to rerun. But don't decline it until you have all of your information gathered and your information updated on that job. Because as soon as you decline that, production thinks that it's ready to go back into production, not to set it aside and wait for that information to come. And this applies for all hard proofs in that decline queue. You don't want to decline it until all of the information is ready to move forward. You decline it, now production can grab it and move that forward. All right? You will need to update the color critical information, the color note, the job reference, all of the device it ran on. You'll need to update that in this original job. So it may require a change order email. It really depends on what that first job looked like. It may be something you can update. It may be something that you have to send to the color or to the change order. All right. You'll rerun your hard proof. It seems like an unnecessary step, but it's gathering all of the information and making sure it's correct. Right. So you run your hard proof, you run your color work. Now you run that hard proof again to make sure everything is correct, and now you can commence with production. And since around it's kind of a touch, it seems like a lot of steps. It's like, how many days is it going to take for me to get to this, right? But so we wanted definition out of production, and so we really pushed hard on production to get some definition. And what we got back was, if you can have your hard proof decline, or you can, if it's not a decline but it's your first time running, if you can have that soft proof approval done by 5 p.m. today, we'll have your hard proof by 3 p.m. tomorrow. All right? If you can have that in today by 5 p.m., we'll have your hard proof for you by 3 p.m. tomorrow. So you don't need to be standing at the press at 9 o'clock waiting for your hard proof. It's going to be done by 3. But if production can't meet that goal, they're going to reach out to you and say, hey, This one is tricky. We're not going to have it by 3. And if you need it sooner than 3, you need to reach out to production. Because there's always exceptions here at TVG, and we'll make exceptions. So if you need it sooner, say something. All right? So that's
Would
all
there be
of...
a same-day turn or scheduling only for the email? Who do you?
I would send it to scheduling. I would send it to scheduling. That's color work in a nutshell. And I'm about to jump into the demonstrations, but are there any questions?
For a certain customer of ours, we have they use different artwork, but the background is all the same. It's this gray swooshy kind of thing, right? So we have been using the same PR ticket for about a year now.
Okay.
So would this require a new hard proof? Because they apply these curves prior to the rip, and then it just goes on those existing curves.
So maybe we could touch base after this,
Okay.
but it sounds like it could go a couple different ways.
Okay.
I mean, for one, you guys are more savvy. You guys are coming from the online side, on the back end side of Collateral. So adding the job on the back end maybe not going to be as difficult for you guys to pick up, right? But additionally, that sounds like a color note that's a repeated one,
Yeah.
right? You may not need to do a color work ticket necessarily.
So this is basically just for new.
That's more like a standing proof.
Yeah.
Okay.
So-
So this would be for new color work.
Let's
needed.
touch base
Okay, sounds good.
after this, because it sounds like maybe there's something. we can
Sounds
do.
like you can put it in your notes for just your current job.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
Yeah,
what
this
we've
is
been
where you
doing. So.
need color work actually done.
Okay. Yeah.
Anything else? I don't want to rush past that, I just went through a lot. Okay, so a quick demonstration. I'm in the hub, and you're going to see some additional new things in here, but not all of this is ever going to be live. I mean, these testing things. But what's important to note is this is basically what it's going to look like. You're going to have another section called color work, and easily differentiated from what this stuff will make perfect sense to you guys. We'll click on boards, and we'll just go through a board. I mean, you guys are in the hub. This isn't new. You're going to select your material. You're going to select your ink, your thickness, depending on the calculator. You're going to select your size, your quantity. Typically, you may need just one, but if it's going to the client, maybe you need a couple. I don't know. So you can pick your quantity for the number of color proofs you need. And then on the right-hand side, you can already see that the number of choices is very limited. So this is going to simplify things. There isn't like a normal board product has, a whole array of things to go through. Color critical. Not a new operation, but we have some new choices in there. So if it's not a color grid or a ring test, you ran a hard proof, and then you're required to hit hard proof was produced. At that point, we want to know which device the hard proof was printed on, and then you'll fill in down here that number for that hard proof. That brings that linkage together for everybody.
And on Monday, when we send out the training recap, we'll have an SOP for this in there, and it'll have definitions. Don't feel like you have to remember them all right now, because I know like over the weekend I get amnesia. I don't know what you guys, but, so that'll help.
If it was a ring test, then we just leave it at none.
Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
for the most part, I'm thinking the percentages are going to be really high where it's none, but there is a scenario possibly where you're trying to match something that maybe had printed earlier on that exact color swatch print somewhere, and you're doing it on a new material, whatever. So we gave that option in here to match something previously printed, just in case something like that does come up, all right?
I have a question about the color critical device. I've had situations where I've chosen a printer and thinking that's where it ran, but then I'm told that, oh no, it was switched to a different printer, but because I didn't have my paperwork from the job, I didn't have that information, I was going off of what was in the hub.
Yeah.
So I'm just wondering, does scheduling kind of check that and make sure it was printed on A or B or, just to make sure?
There is a best practice for if you ran that hard proof and you assume you know where it ran, really the best place to check that is in tracking on that job.
Like when I go to pay, I go
Pace
to
tracking
Pace
is the best place to know exactly where that ran.
and,
if
so
you
that's
need to
always
know.
true.
Always, because that's data collection, that's where it actually ran.
Okay, because when I look in the hub, it's like 50/50.
Yeah, I wouldn't trust the hub, because the scheduler can move it, and even if the scheduler moves it, maybe it ran, maybe the press went down, and it ran
Right.
somewhere else that night.
That's what
So
happened.
really, the best place to get that is in that
Well,
track.
the hub is the plan, it's the order, and then production based on capacity or efficiency, they can move it,
Yeah.
and the actuals are in Pace.
We're gonna move along here.
Hey, Ben, quick question.
Yeah.
So the quantity for this order that you're entering in, you're asking for how many hard proofs you want to get produced?
How many color proofs?
Color proofs,
Yeah.
not the hard proof.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. At which point, you're gonna select this match to, color match to, and if you're doing a color swatch is any type of spot color, like a Pantone is a type of spot color, but there are a bunch of different types of spot colors. Maybe you wanna match the black on the phone, or the gray on the computer, or the coffee mug, something you're matching to, but it's a specific color. Or your printed piece or supplied proof or match to from the client or match print. I mean, you're matching something, either of those choices that they want to know. And then of course, because we're the Bernard Group and we do everything different tomorrow than we do today, there's an other option. You'll be able to fill in text. We'll show you that more on one of these options down here. Will the art, what does that say? Color will be used for this art. So we really want the art. So if you have the art, you will upload the art or at least provide a file path to the art. But in case there is no art supplied, they want to know how the color is going to be used. Is it going to be used on a vector object? And a vector object is like, I need a flood of this color, or it's an Illustrator object or an EPS, like those are some of the common things you would see vector art in. And a raster or a image photo is more something you would take with a camera. You would get it like a picture, all right? Someone running, right? That's an image. And then if you have no art file and it's something other than those things, just in case there is that option. Evaluation lighting. How is this going to be displayed? Now we know this is a very interesting one because in some scenarios it's going to be displayed in many different stores around the country, or some inside and some outside, all within the same production run. But really here's the goal. We want to wow our clients like no other company. And that's our motto day in and day out. And to give our color team the opportunity to wow our clients, for us as the Bernard Group to succeed, we need to try to get them this information. So if you can reach out to the client and you can get this information, we are one step ahead of the competition. All right? So it is desired, it is a requirement, knowing that there's kind of some nuances to this one. So these are the main things that we see day in and day out, but we do have an other, and we will, I'll select the other in this case and show you a little bit about it, and know that over history, when you haven't been providing this information, if the color team doesn't get it, they've been using standard D50. So you can use the standard if you don't get that information from your client, but remember, we're trying to set the color team up to succeed, right? And the best way to succeed is to try to get this information for them. So I chose other, and remember that down below, we'll get to that in a minute. Lighting environment, this choice will only show up when you're selecting like a clear or a backlit substrate. Because they want to know how the light's being, is it from the back, is it freestanding, is it being mounted to something? All of these things impact the color that they're going to use. Because it changes what they do. It's just going to change the color, how it's used. So that operation will only show up for like a backlit type substrate. And then you'll pick that. The default is none, but again, that's a required field. And then can the color team improve without the PM? 95% of the time, no, we want you guys back there. But there are really rare scenarios out there where the PM says, hey, you pick the best one and we're good with that. at which point you have some laminate and some mounting choices. Again, these are the things that can impact the color. It may impact it, so we want you to choose it. The color team may say that won't impact the color, so we don't need to do that. We won't waste the time with the materials, but we want you to select that information. And then if you are going to be cutting it down, I mean, you guys have been to the color room and looked at proofs before. A lot of times they pull that board right off the press and they bring it into the color room and evaluate it, no cutting. But if you know you're going to send that piece out, it's kind of hard to send a 6120 board to the client. You need to select Zun cutting, okay?
Will there be an option in there that the proof needs to go to the customer, or do we have to put that in our notes?
Would that change something for?
So then I would need a cut.
Well, that's what you would select this for. You wouldn't need to really say that in the notes because you're going to have it cut out. And you're going to select 3 for your quantity. So they're going to cut 3 and then they're going to show up in the color room as 3 different pieces to evaluate. Okay? You're always required to provide a ship date. The ship date is the day you need the color work done. Once you select the ship date, we'll have a series of things down here